What is up, YouTube? So today we're talking 70s style vocal sounds. Let's dive straight into it. As you can see behind me, there's a few albums that I've been inspired by vocally and songwriting wise. Check out these slippers, yo. Supertramp, Breakfast in America, great album, great voice. Bee Gees, Spirits Having Flown, another great album, great disco, great songwriting, amazing voices. Pet Sounds and Rubber Soul. I think of these two albums as very, well, they were inspired by each other in a way. I think Brian Wilson, rest in peace, he was inspired by Rubber Soul and he wrote Pet Sounds, so they're quite related in a way. And even though they're 60s albums, it's the voices, you know? They've got this certain voice quality that lingers on into the 70s. They all have this kind of nasal quality, and this is the main thing with getting a 70s style vocal take, is that you want to sing kind of from the front of your mouth. And I know it's probably not the best for your throat, but you want to get that kind of sound, you know, but not that much. Just a little bit of that rasp from your throat, you know. That's the kind of 70s thing that I try and transfer into my own music. So this is a song from my last album. If you haven't listened to it, you can check it out here. And I think this song best represents the 70s sound from that album that I put out. Kind of disco-y influenced. Let's have a quick listen to the instrumental. Yeah, so quite like minimalist disco. Even though it's got those heavy drum samples, I think the songwriting and the kind of vocal style is reminiscent of the 70s era. First of all, you got to record it twice. So I know that you can artificially double track stuff with plugins, but I've found if you just sing it twice, it gives you a certain quality that you can't replicate with the plugins. So sing it twice as best you can. I'll solo the first take.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one.
And see, it sounds like ass by itself. If I bring in the instruments, it might sound a bit better.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one.
But see how it's quite empty just on its own? So if I bring in the second one.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one. Baby, you're just hesitating, waiting for that sun.
See how it just thickens it up and it kind of accentuates that vocal style, that kind of maybe See, it's got a lot of that kind of nasally quality. I've kept the levels the exact same for both of them. Sometimes you can turn one down, but I found for this song, leaving them both at the same volume just really kind of glued it together nicely. And this is fully unprocessed, so that'll be the next step. I'm going to show you two techniques today. So the first one will be with just stock plugins that most DAWs should have. And then the second alternative, I'll just show you the same kind of thing, but with a bunch of fancy tape plugins, which you might have. So we group them. And using the stock plugin method, I'll always start with a saturator. And what this is essentially doing is it's kind of mimicking an old preamp from the desks back in the 70s. And you want to get it just saturating a little bit.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one.
And then turn down the output to match it.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking
just a little
you
bit.
could be the one.
And what you also want to do is check the loudest part of your song. So I'll go to the chorus.
Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just over.
See how it is clipping a bit too much there? So I might just bring it down to like 9. Number 9, number 9.
Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just over thinking you could break my heart.
Yeah, that's a good amount. And then next I'll pull up an EQ, filter out a lot of that low end.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one.
Usually like around there's fine. What I do find with the 70s style vocal is that you don't want a lot of low mids. I find those kind of muddy frequencies around 200 to 300 hertz is just a bit, it sounds like ass. So you want to scoop those out a bit and just really let the nasally kind of 2K, 3K area shine. What I'll do is I'll solo those frequencies. So press the headphone button.
Maybe I was wrong
like around
for
here.
Thinking you could be the one. Baby, you're just hesitating, waiting for that sun.
It's just muddy, and I find it gets in the way of the bass, especially in this song. With the bass, I really am pushing it around 250 hertz to give it that honky, kind of low mid, pokey frequencies. So I'll cut that out of the vocals because it just sounds bad there anyway. Just a little bit, maybe like 3 dB, kind of shallow-ish curve like that. And then there's one more area which I find is quite horrible in the vocals. It's usually around 900 to 1,000. So it's kind of like something like a telephone, like that kind of boxy, horrible stuff. So let's listen for that.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one.
Like around there.
Baby, you're just hesitating.
It's like a horrible frequency that's just nasty. So, but you want to keep this slope like super steep because you don't want to be taking out too much on either side of it.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one.
Yeah, sweet. And there's probably a few other harsh frequencies in here that you can kind of surgically take out. I'm not too good at doing this, but I'll just see if I can find a couple.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one.
Like there.
Baby, you're just
See how that note is kind of ringing out? And you want to keep this, yeah, super steep and bring it down like -10. And that should just cut out that horrible kind of ringing note.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking.
I'm hearing another one a bit lower down as well. So you gotta listen really carefully for these. So I'm hearing one down here somewhere. And I'll just bring that one down a bit.
Waiting for that sun.
Yeah, that's pretty good for now. So yeah, bit of a surgical kind of gross looking EQ, but it'll sound better later on. So then next, I'll do my first compressor. So I have the attack a little bit faster on this one. Same release time. And you just wanna, I'll go to the loudest part again.
Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just overthinking. You could break my heart.
And you wanna aim for
and
around
not come running.
like -5 at the loudest part.
Maybe I'm too much.
Cool, and then after that one, another compressor. So I'll pull up another glue compressor. But with this one, you wanna make it a slower attack, but still a fast release. And you want to do around -5 as well. So there's a total of about -10. That's kind of what I've just found is good.
And not come running back again, I'm old.
And yeah, turn them off, make sure the levels are the same.
Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just overthinking. You could break my heart.
And then next, I'll just run it through, I was going to put it through a tape machine, but no, I'm not doing any crazy plugins for this one. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll just put it through a bit of fresh air. Oh no, that's another plugin that's not stock. Okay, I'm tripping. All right, this should be fine then. So this is kind of all you really need just for like a simple kind of 70s sound without any crazy plugins. So yeah, this is it just dry with no reverb or delays.
Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just overthinking. You could break my heart and not come running back again. I'm old.
See, it's quite simple, really, but I think the fact that you sing it twice and kind of have that nasally quality just helps it cut through the mix. That's a big part of it. And what I'll do next is I'll have a return track, or if you're in Logic, it's just like a bus send or whatever, and you want to do a bit of a slap delay. And I'll just use the stock delay to do this. And this is classic 70s and 60s kind of technique, is where you have the vocal playback quickly afterwards and it just kind of plays afterwards. You'll hear what I mean when I do it. But usually I do it on a send track just so I can control the amount of it quite easily. And I think the classic like John Lennon slap is around 120 milliseconds. So we'll start there and see how that sounds. You can use this filter inside the thing, but I like just doing it with a standard EQ. So you just want to cut out a bit of the lows on the slap and change this to fully wet because it's on a return track, so you want it to be fully wet. Feedback, you don't need it to be feeding back, you just want it to play back once. And then usually you don't want to have it get in the way of the main vocal, which usually kind of is present around 2,000 to 3,000. So I'll just cut out a little bit there so it's not getting in the way too much. And yeah, just dial it in to taste, really. Let's see what it sounds like, first of all.
Maybe I was wrong for thinking you could be the one.
See how it's like...
Baby, you're just hesitating, waiting for that sun. Hidden in your mind is golden paradise. I don't wanna leave it all behind.
That's probably a good amount. Let's see what it sounds like with the track.
Maybe I was wrong for
probably a bit too much.
You could be the one.
Needs to be subtle.
Baby, you're just hesitating, waiting for that sun. Hidden in your mind is golden paradise. I don't wanna leave it all behind.
And now with.
I don't wanna leave it all behind.
Yeah, super subtle, but it just gives it a bit more depth. Yeah, sweet. And then the last step will just be a bit of reverb, which will also be on a return track. So we'll just use the hybrid reverb. This one's super good. And I think the most classic 70s reverb or 60s stuff like that is a plate reverb. So I normally chuck my vocals through a plate reverb, just the classic plate one. And decay, usually around 3 seconds is good, I've found. And I'll do that same EQ trick before the plugin.
I don't wanna leave it all behind. Maybe it's alright, I'll
just give it a quick run through in the chorus.
Waiting on the line, waiting for a sign. Cause I don't wanna spend my whole life thinking about you now. Maybe I'm too much, maybe I'm just overthinking. You could break my heart, and I come running back again. I'm old enough, and I'm holding up. Waiting on the line, waiting on the line.
Yeah, and those S's are very sibilant, so you kind of need to use a de-esser, essentially. So yeah, that will lead me to my next chain, which will be with proper plugins. Bring the drums in. Percussion. Yeah, I reckon it's pretty tough, personally. But yeah, I mean, if you want to listen to it, you know where to find it. It's in the description as well, so go stream it immediately. Let's delete all this, and let's reset, and I'll use some of my favorite third-party plugins. I'm going to use a preamp this time. And then this is kind of emulating a Neve, like 1073.
Waiting on the line, waiting on the line.
See that, how it's going in the red a bit? And it kind of just breaks it up nicely.
Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just overthinking you.
And since I've got the EQ section, I might just scoop out a bit of those low mids.
And I come running back.
See, around there is quite muddy and gross, so I'm going to scoop that out a little bit.
Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just overthinking.
Yeah, so that's the kind of roughly the same EQ from before. But also, what I will do at the start of the chain is a DS. And I normally do 2 of them, both kind of cutting out different harsh frequencies. So on the first one, I'll solo it around from 5K to 10K. And this is getting your kind of S sound. And you can see how much it's dipping there. It's probably a little bit too much, so you bring this up a little bit. Yeah, around there is pretty good. And on the second one, I'll go from 10 to like 15, which is normally your like the higher pitched kind of and audition it. This one won't pick up as much, but it will on certain words. Yeah, that's a word that got it. That's probably good. And then just listen to it, make sure it's not sounding too lispy. I find if you thrash a DS too much, and lots of like modern pop music kind of sounds like this. It's not a bad thing or a good thing, but it's just like, you kind of hear it like, it's being like so thrashed. So you want to keep it relatively subtle. I'll find a spot where I say an S.
So maybe it's...
See there?
So maybe it's alright.
See how the S is still present, but it's just not as harsh. And then next we'll do the compression, the first one. So yeah, I use the 1176 UAD plugin. This is more for the fast attack, and it's backwards. So the higher the number, the faster the attack. So I have it relatively fast, around 5. And then you let it dip around -5 at the loudest part.
And I come running back again, I'm old enough. Maybe I'm just old.
Yeah, so around -5 at the loudest parts. I'm gonna use the Pro Q. This one's good because you can use it as like an adaptive EQ, and I'll show you what that is. Find those low mid frequencies I don't like too much.
Baby, I'm just overthinking.
Yeah, maybe around 300 actually, because I'm not cutting that too much in this EQ. And what I'll do is I'll make it dynamic and bring this one down to about -3. And so this means that when that frequency hits above a certain decibel level, it will duck it down. Change this to, I'll do it manually, so you kind of see where it's ducking.
Maybe I'm just overthinking, you could break my heart.
See that?
And I come running back again, I'm old.
It just pulls it down when it gets above a certain level. And I might do just a slight high boost, just to get the air.
Maybe I'm just overthinking, you could break.
But see how those S's, they're not too abrasive because I've got those DS's on. And lastly, just a bit of fresh air. Actually, no, as well as this, I'll put it through a tape. I'll put it after the compression and before the Pro Q. These 2 formulas are good. Change the bias to +5. That allows more high frequencies to pass through because tape normally kind of dulls those top frequencies, which can be good, but I kind of want this to be more crisp. And I'll just crank the saturation until it sounds nice.
Maybe I'm just overthinking, you could break my heart and I come running back again. I'm old.
See, that's too much, but if you just dial it in,
Thinking you could break my heart.
that's quite tasteful. And then just a tiny bit of fresh air on the top, maybe like 3.
Maybe I'm just overthinking, you
See, if you
could.
crank it too much, like lots of modern songs crank it a lot, but if you want that 70s sound, you just want to do a little bit.
Maybe I'm just overthinking.
Yeah, let's hear that with the track.
Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just overthinking, you could break my heart and I come running back again.
Yeah, and then for the slap delay, since I have free reign of my plugin collection, I'll use the J37 and I'll do the same thing. I'll chuck the delay onto send and return, so that means it's fully wet. And yeah, around 120 was where I had it before. And the cool thing with doing it with tape is that I can saturate the delays or the slap.
Maybe I'm just overthinking, you could
Yeah,
break.
I can crank it hard and then yeah, dial it into taste.
Thinking about you now. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm just overthinking,
Bit too much?
you could break my heart.
I forgot the second compressor, so I'll use this one as the second one. This is the slow attack compressor, and yeah, you want to get it around like -5 as well.
Waiting on the line, waiting on the line.
Yeah, so I have those two compressors going, the fast one and the slow one. Yeah, I think I'm overcooking it a little bit with the saturator, so I'm going to bring that down a tad.
Waiting on the line, waiting on the line.
That's better. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to check what the actual master sounds like. Yeah, the audio from Spotify wouldn't play for some reason, but when I was checking the master, I realized that I'd overcooked the plugins a bit in this video, so I dialed off the input gain for the Neve preamp and took off some of the high end. Yo, cool, and then we'll chuck it through a reverb. Let's use the plate reverb from UAD. This one's really good. It's doing like a classic plate reverb kind of sound. Wet solo, so it's just the wet signal. And I reckon we make it pretty quick, because it sounded pretty quick in the master. See, I can't remember exactly how I mixed it. I put this out like 2 years ago, so I'm just kind of trying to recreate as best I can. But I'm also using techniques that I've picked up more recently, so it's not going to sound exactly the same as the recording. But, oh well. Treble, let's boost that a little bit. Now let's check it with the track.
Waiting on the line, waiting on the line.
That's better. And I got some BVs here as well.
Maybe I'm in love. Oh, baby, am I overthinking when it's said?
This sounds like ass. And since I didn't double track these, I think I was just super lazy. I just tracked it once and I was like, can't be bothered doing it again. So what I'm gonna do is the cheap method of double tracking, which is with the J37. Chuck it on, send, return. Bring these right down to like very low, but then change one of them. So change that a little bit. And now it'll sound like I'm singing it twice.
Baby, I'm in love. Oh, baby, am I overthinking when it's said and done? Will you come running back up thinking no?
Oh, it's so tuned as well. But you don't really notice in the track.
Maybe I'm in love. Oh, baby, am I overthinking when it's said and done?
Yeah. So that's the plugin version with the crazy third-party plugins. But yeah, that's pretty much the kind of 70s vocal style that I've found works for me. And I think the biggest takeaway you should have from this video is that, thank you. Yeah, all these plugins you can use to help, but at the end of the day, if you want to get that kind of Supertramp, Bee Gees-ish sound, you have to really lead into that nasal like thing, you know, like but like not that much, but just a little bit. And you can hear it just in the way I sing.
So maybe it's alright.
Maybe it's, you can kind of hear that throat vibration, which is probably not good for your voice, but it's the only way I've found for me to get that sound. I probably should get some vocal lessons at some point, but I think until then, I'm just gonna keep soldiering through and sing it twice. Always sing it twice. Don't use these stupid plugins to do it. You know, you just do it twice. That's what they did in the 70s. Let's have a quick listen to just parts of it. I'm gonna start from here at this cool little instrumental section, and I'll let it play through the next verse, and just listen to the voice and just think about the kind of techniques I was talking about and try and apply them to your own music. That's essentially what I'm aiming for with this video. So let's have a quick listen.
right. How can I be understanding another sleepless night? 'Cause everybody's always saying golden paradise is hidden in your mind. I don't wanna leave it all behind. Well, anyway, I tried to see the other side. I'll be waiting on the line, waiting for a sign. 'Cause I don't wanna spend my whole life thinking about you now. Maybe I'm too much, maybe I'm just overthinking. You could break my heart, and I'll come running back again. I'm holding up, and I'm holding up, waiting on the line, waiting on the line.
Oh. Well, that's my cue to end the video, I think. I just put my headphones on my keyboard and the keyboard's connected to all the buttons in Ableton, which is annoying as hell, but that's a good little listen through. If you want to hear the whole song, it's in the description. And yeah, stream the whole album. I put it out last year and it's mostly kind of 80s synthy stuff, but there's a couple little 70s gems in there if you search for them. But yeah, thanks for watching and I'll catch you next week. Peace.